iOS 18 just came out on the iPhone SE 2, so in this video I just wanted to talk about whether or not it's worth getting and what the new features are in this new update. So first off, let's go over some of the new features, and we're going to start off with customization. So when you go into the home screen and you press on edit, there's a new feature for customizing the app icons, and you can choose between automatic, and you can also choose between dark and light mode. So the dark mode allows you to have darker apps, and there's also an option for tinted, which is going to allow you to change up the color of your home screen apps. And you could also choose the option to have larger app icons, and this option allows you to enable dark mode on your home screen. Now, another feature in this home screen customization is the ability to select whichever color that you want from your wallpaper. So by pressing on this button here, you can select whichever color that you want to use on your app icons, so that way your app icons will match your wallpaper. Now that's basically it for the customization on the home screen. Let's talk about customization in the control center. So when you go into the control center, there's multiple different pages here, and when you hold down on it, you have the option here to add controls, and there's a whole list of controls here. And right now iOS 18 is pretty laggy because it's on the beta version. And the last thing that we need to cover for customization in iOS 18 is going to be in the lock screen. So when you go into the lock screen and you hold down on it, you'll have the option for iOS 18 wallpapers. And there's actually a whole section for them right here. And here's just what one of them looks like. And that's basically it for customization in iOS 18. Now moving on to the calculator app, we have some new features here. So here's what the new calculator app looks like. And there's a new button here, which allows you to switch between basic, scientific, and math notes. And you also have the option to convert the currencies. And the math notes allow you to just take notes on your phone, and it works just like in the Notes app. So when you type in 2 plus 2, for example, it'll tell you the solution. Now going back over here, if we select basic, then we'll get this option here, which allows us to see the history on the calculator app of what we've typed in. And that's basically it for the calculator app in iOS 18. Let's now talk about some of the new security fixes in iOS 18. So on the home screen, you can now hold on an app to lock it. And right now it won't show the button for me, but it should work by the time iOS 18 is fully released to the public. But basically you could lock apps using Face ID or your passcode. And you might have also noticed that there's a new password app here. And it's basically just to store your passwords. And it's a lot more secure than what you're going to have on the App Store when you search for other password apps. And many of those in the past have been hacked. So if you plan on keeping all your passwords only on iOS and not on Windows or other operating systems, then I do recommend using this. But if you also want to use your passwords across other operating systems, then you shouldn't be using this because it only works on iOS. Now the next new feature is going to be in Messages, and basically there's quite a few new features here. And one of them is that you could actually format the text, and you can do that by pressing on this button, and you have to do this while you highlight the text. And you can choose between bolding, italicizing, and underlining, and also striking through it. And you could also add one of these effects, but when you select that, it immediately gets rid of the other effects that were added to that text. Now, another new feature that we've got in Messages is the ability to add stickers by holding down on it and pressing on Add Sticker. So here's just what a demonstration looks like. And you could also react with emojis now. So for example, if I hold down on this, you could just press on this button to react with an emoji. And here's just a demonstration for you. And here's what that looks like. Now keep in mind that if the other person has iOS 17, then they can't see that reaction. So just make sure that the other person is on iOS 18. Now moving on to the next feature, which is going to be in Apple Pay. You can now pay someone by holding two iPhones side by side, kind of like with contact sharing, if you know what that is. So basically, when you collide them together, you could just Apple Pay someone, and it's going to be a lot quicker process. Now, another awesome feature that we have with iOS 18 is going to be with satellites. So only the iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 models have the satellite option, but basically, if you hold down on it, then you'll have the option for satellite. And this video specifically covers the iPhone SE 2, so this is only going to be helpful if you plan on using a newer iPhone model. Now moving on to the final feature, which is going to be in Photos, we actually now have the ability to add filters when we browse our photos, and you can do that by pressing on this button and just press on Filter, and you can also press on View Options, And this is basically how you can filter through your photos and see whatever you want to. Now, also, you might have noticed that the Photos app is completely redesigned, and it's actually really hard to get used to. So this is one of my downsides with iOS 18, but let's now talk about whether or not it's worth updating. So if iOS 18 beta is the latest version at the time that you're watching this, then I don't recommend updating to iOS 18 beta. Now, I do actually have one exception to my recommendation, and that is if you're more knowledgeable in technology and you're willing to follow through a more complicated process in order to downgrade back to iOS 17. And before you do that, you just need to go into your profile and press on iCloud, and just go ahead and back up your iPhone while it's on iOS 17, and then you could get iOS 18 beta by watching the video in the description. And I also do have a downgrading guide, so if you do ever want to downgrade back to iOS 17, then you can do that up until around October. Now, if iOS 18 is fully out to everyone at the time that you're watching this, then I do recommend updating, and that's because it's going to solve a lot of your issues, such as with battery draining problems and with a lot of the bugs that exist on iOS 17. Now, even though the user interface in iOS 18 is going to be a lot more complicated than in iOS 17, I do still recommend updating because your phone will benefit a lot from the update. Now, that's all there is for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my channel to see more videos like this in the future. Also, if you have any video suggestions, be sure to leave them down in the comments below.